Welcome back to a bit Gamey and my various chaotic projects. Did the last of the Sparabara, last 12. Yeah, not very great painting. There's I will come back to them at some point and do decorations. You see on other people's painting of the Persians, they do little decorations on the uniforms, and I mean that's worth doing. So I can't get motivated for it because this is an X project. But when I get a bigger table, I'll probably go back to these and do little dots and stuff like that people do on the uniforms. The only real reason to mention these is that I'm praising the geek gaming what we call it, terrain stuff, basing stuff. This is the Mediterranean one. So I've been doing, up till now I've just been doing flock on the base, just glue and flock. But this kind of mixed terrain basing, I've got the desert stuff and the Mediterranean stuff now, and that's what I'll be doing in the future for units that suit those terrains. And eventually I'll get something for Middle Europe as well. But I got a load of this ages back. What's it called? Spring grass. As you can see, there's a lot of it left. So I'm gonna get through that first. But eventually, I'll once I've done that, I'll get one of the more mainland European versions of this stuff, because it's just good, and it's quite a lot of it in a little bag. So I do quite a lot of bases, but it's good stuff basically. The Persian Sparabara were part of an X project, just gradually clearing out all the or clearing up all the ancients I bought earlier that were too big for my table. And this is the current, or one of the current projects, or the second project, or whatever you call it, which is the horse and musket War of Spanish Succession. And this is another of, or the next French unit, which is the Irish Clare regiment, I think it is. I was doing these because they were in the Warlord, the flags that came with the Warlord box. So got 5 battalion flags in there, which is all great, although it is a bit triggering because on the Warlord box, on the British one, it's got I think it's 1 Dutch, 1 Prussian, and 3 British, I think. And in the French box, it's got a couple of French line, French Guards, Bavarian, and this Irish battalion, which is perfectly fine in one respect because it's all very varied, but it kind of messes my poor OCD brain up, because it's like both the British and this Irish battalion are in red, the Dutch and the French line are in grey, and the German, Prussians and Bavarians and the French Guard are in blue. So it's all very whatever, and it's making me want to do different battalions to make them more sort of realistic, so like a battalion that's like Dutch and Danish, a battalion that's like British and some German or other, or Prussian or Hanoverian or whatever, and then Bavarians versus French. So it kind of covers more the different arenas that they fought in, because the whole colour kind of is just getting to me. But I've got to fight off the urge and just have the original 10 units each, which is all whatever. It's kind of a bit messed up because it's like I did 9 out of the 10 British ones before I started the French, so it's I should have done it differently. But so this is the second of the 10th French ones. But it's it's good. It's good fun. I mean, it's tempting me to do more, which is a good sign, but a bad sign at the same time. And the other thing I was going to mention about this is the first, because I'm doing it. I don't know why I'm doing it this way, but I'm doing it where you remove casualties. And one little thing I noticed is that using the 2mm bases, they fall out a lot, but the 3mm bases, they don't. I mean, they still fall. They do still fall out, but not as much. So that's a little note which might be helpful for someone. Is that if you're going to do figures like skirmish type games or whatever, where you want to pull out individual casualties, then the 3mm bases in the 3mm slots are more secure. I mean, it's not 100%, but it's better. The next thing I'm kind of quite proud of, because it's I took more time trying to paint it. I mean, it's still terrible painting compared to with other people, but for me it's pretty good. It's what's his face, Duke of Marlborough, and a trumpeter from somewhere, I think Warlord, and an officer from, again, I can't remember where. It might have been front rank, but yeah, with a bit of scenery on the base. It's completely pointless for my 1 hour war games, because you've already got. Well, you don't need a general to start off in the rules, and I've got a general on one base, one horseman on a base, which is all I need. But I just want to get these painted up, and I mean, it's completely pointless now. I mean, eventually when I get a bigger table, there'll be be a nice little corps commander or army commander. I'll have one on brigade commander, 2 figures on a division, and 3 on a corps. But yeah, I mean, say compared to other people, it's the painting's not great, but compared to my normal standards, it's good fun. It was very enjoyable doing these. There's a thing about these Marlburian wars thing. It's all the wigs. It's all the wigs and the lace. I mean, I can't do it well enough to cover all the different lace and stuff, but just the wigs and everything. It's just funny to me to be painting them. That this is actually what you did when you were going into battle. Yeah, the other was not interesting really, but it's semi-interesting. It's while I was painting them, I had a Peter Jackson YouTube clip came up on the YouTube, and it was one of their kind of documentary sort of series where they're discussing making the Lord of the Rings films, and one of the bits was about the Council of Elrond and someone whose job was to kind of try and figure out where everyone was sitting, so you knew what direction to look in when they're talking at a particular person in the ring. So that was that's on. I was listening to that at the time as I was getting this wrong, because like that guy there, is meant to be looking at Marlborough, but he's not exactly looking at the horse's backside, which is a bit rubbish. I mean, you can't tell unless you're looking at the right/wrong direction. But that's a lesson learned about lining them up properly. I don't know what you do. I suppose you do like something they do in a movie where they put a marker on, draw a marker on the base to sort of show what direction you should be facing, and then put the glue there rather than just randomly glue and then plonk it down and find out afterwards it's wrong. It doesn't matter though, because you can't actually tell, except when you're looking directly at it, that he's staring at the horse's back. But it's not important. It's just I thought it was quite funny. Anyway, good. I enjoyed this a lot. I mean, it's totally useless, but it gets some figures I bought already painted, and I like it. It looks good. Third or fourth thing, can't remember. I bought a load of early war British tanks ages ago, and finally got around to painting them, and basing in a very basic basing. And they do, or it said that they did have a camouflage scheme, but I don't know. I just thought that I like them as they were, sort of kind of very simple. And I was thinking about decals for them, and the various decal sheets that I've found. These are for 20mm. I don't know. There's decal sheets which have a lot of detailed things, for like a proper model. But if you've got multiple of those sheets, then they've all got the same bits. You've got the same whatever it might be, number or whatever. So I was kind of thinking what to do about that, and so in the end I decided, because on the German ones I just did the kind of Balkan cross, and that kind of more or less does it. I thought I'd do these just for the British ones. I'd just do the what we call it, the squadron markings. First, second, third squadron of a particular regiment, and try that and see if that's enough. And that's enough for me. You want some kind of marking. For me, I mean, the circle thing, I don't care about that in this issue. I don't care about that, but I do want some kind of marking on it for aesthetic reasons. And so, these for the British work, I'm quite happy with that. The red markings are for the 1st regiment in a brigade or whatever, and then there's yellow ones for I don't know, I can't remember now if it's the 2nd or 3rd regiment. But so because in my games I'm going to be using them as one figure. It's going to be roughly 1 to 3, and each tank is going to represent a platoon. So I was thinking originally of doing it, having a different one for each tank, but then I thought it doesn't make actually sense, because they're still all going to be in the same squadron, regiment rather, and in the same squadron of the same regiment. So in the end I just did all red in the infantry tanks and yellow on the ones that's going to be in the cruiser tanks. Because the idea is going to be that I don't know why I got these. I got these, it's just on a whim. So I eventually wanted them, and just going to think. So it's going to be 5 in each unit, because it's going to be a squadron. We're going to have a HQ tank and 4 platoons, where each tank represents a platoon. And it's not exactly right, but it's close enough to have about half of the Matilda 1s and half Matilda 2s, and the one missing will be the close support tank, the one firing smoke. That's for the infantry tanks. And then on the cruiser tank squadron, it's going to be 2 of these Mark 6s and 2 of the other cruiser tanks, and a cruiser tank version of the CS. And I can't decide what to get. I mean, A9s would make sense, and they fit the bill of my weird looking early war tanks. And then there's A10s, and then there's the early version of the A13. I'm tempted to get one of each, even though it doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, I'm sure that it was possible that they had that at some point. Some squadron had various mix-ups and stuff where after casualties and breakdowns, they ended up, with that collection. So I think it's probably possible. I'm not going to go check because I might find out I'm wrong. But so that's, as I'm gradually getting towards that theory of having one of each of those 3 early war tanks, which, although it doesn't make a lot of sense, it kind of fits what my preference really, which is to have as many of the early war tanks as possible, but in the fewest numbers. So the other thing I was going to mention about that is I was looking around all the sites for decals, trying to decide what I was going to get, and there's one site, Skytrex, which is it's got mostly 15mm and 28mm figures, but I found they do 20mm decals, and so you got 4 of these. You got there's 3 regiments, which are you got 3 sets for the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd senior regiments in the tanks, and the 4th one, which I can't remember. I think it's an unbrigaded tank regiment. So that might have been better for the infantry tanks, maybe. But yeah, so there's kind of, you know, they're £3 each, or there's 10 quid for 4 of them, and that's, you know, obviously it's far more than I actually need, but it means I've got, you know, got the options for the British tanks in the future if I decide to, you know, increase it. So anyway, but say it's something you may not have noticed. If you knew Skytrex does 28mm and 15mm, you might not realise they do 20mm decals. So anyway, that was just a little tip for anyone. Just checking, I did say Skytrex. And last but not least, the progress on the early war British. So I'd already got enough for a company of early war British. I got from different manufacturers, and I was planning to avoid buying more figures, but in the end I like the Lancer ones so much. Well, so much basically. I like the Lancer ones, and so I was forced against my will to buy some more for another two units of the Lancer miniatures. A unit for me is 3 bases, and then you could have an NCO as a leader for them to be a section, or an officer to make them a platoon using the Crossfire rules, or not necessarily Crossfire rules, but the Crossfire organisation, where you have a company at roughly 1 to 3 scale, which is which I think is going to be my kind of base scale with exceptions. So anyway, so that's yeah, 2 new squads or 2 new platoons, depending on what rules you're using. Plus, I've got one lot of the Zvezda British Recon, which I'd use partly for that and partly for other things. And so I've got another box of those because I think these figures are just great for Recon / Scout. And this is really for the O group idea of using these as a kind of blind when they go forward, and then you can either replace them with an actual unit, or they get knocked out and have to go back to the beginning again, or wherever they get spawned from. But I say they're big. I mean, they're too big technically if you want to compare them. But as they're kind of an abstraction, really. Yeah, an abstraction of not technically a unit. Then I don't mind that they're too big. I think they works on that level. So another 2 scout bases from Zvezda. The second machine gun, and the second mortar for the support weapons. And there's new AB figures I bought. Again, I was planning not to buy any new figures because I was just trying to get this done and then get around to doing the polls, but I got carried away. So that's another a company HQ or battalion HQ base, depending on the scale, and a couple more officers. I mean, they're too tall as well, but compared to the Lancer ones, but I don't mind. Officers and scout units, that's fine. So I'm very pleased with that. It's definitely getting almost there. So in total, getting very close to the end of. I want to make my standard kind of company scale formation, or say it can be a platoon, a company, or a battalion. 3 lots of 3 bases for as the main infantry, with either an NCO or an officer, depending on the scale. Then a couple of heavy machine guns, a couple of heavy mortars, and eventually a couple of anti-tank guns. I've only got one so far, plus 2 lots of spotters, one for the mortars and one for the artillery, or fort artillery. 3 little scout bases for one for each each unit, and then the company scout, or in the platoon HQ, or in the up up to the next level with as in a 1-to-3 ratio. You've got the light mortar and a couple of anti-tank guns. So I'm going to do the alternative World War II, where it's a bit more anti-tank guns early on, and then company commander or battalion commander, again depending on the scale. So and so that's going to be my kind of standard formation that I want to tailor all the rest to. Now that I've got here, I've got another anti-tank gun ready to do next month, which would bring it to a conclusion, which is actually the 25mm Hotchkiss anti-tank gun. I mean, I'm going to use it as a 2-pounder, but I wanted to get the different model just for the aesthetics. I've got some crew for that as well. So yeah, so that's, I mean, because the thing about the organisation charts is that you might have a German company with their own attached heavy weapons, heavy machine guns and mortars, or you might have a British one where there's specific machine gun battalions who kind of attach their machine guns to a particular company. So it comes to the same thing. It's slightly different in terms of organisation, but they generally all have this, the same stuff. It's just organised slightly differently. So anyway, so that's not bad. I mean, I kind of messed it up a bit by I've got another couple of units worth of the other figures that I'd like least. Well, not necessarily like least. It's just I say the Svezda ones are perfect. I mean, I think they're fine as officer types, but they're a little big for everywhere else. So I'll do something else with them. But so yeah, so apart from that kind of sideways of getting stuff that I'm not using, that's going to be the standard for both British, French, German, and Polish eventually. So yeah, so I'm very happy with that. I mean, I've still got the whole thing I did before of an engineer type unit and a recon unit, because it's taking a lot of faffing around with the engineers. But anyway, so I'm getting close to that. So I want to do this for each of the for the French and Polish, and then probably go back as well and look at the Germans to see if there's anything I'm missing on that. But anyway, so that's yeah, I'm very happy with this. Happy with this little arrangement with this little where it's all based and stuff. It's all pleased with that. Anything else to talk about on this scale about this? Don't think so. So what's next on the list? So number 1, got to finish the last anti-tank gun, or second anti-tank gun for the British, along with the crew, etc. So that'll be that sorted. I'm trying to avoid buying any new stuff because I've got so much more stuff that needs doing from before. Bits of first to fight tanks, Polish, or it's not the next stage is French, but then I'll finally start doing the Polish properly. So it's a cool little thing. It's a FT-17. FT-17 is a French built, I think, sold to Poland. But again, it's the sort of thing that I really like. These early war mad tanks, which just make they do make sense of it. They eventually will get replaced later when everyone figures out how to do tanks properly. But in the interim, you've got all these fun things like that. I've also got, after the FT-17, Also got the 70p for that, and then for the, I don't know why I got this. The latest one I got when I was just doing other stuff, and just thought I'd get this for a treat. Is it's basically a wagon. I don't know why I got this. It's a wagon with a machine gun, so it's a mobile machine gun. Which I don't know. I don't know. I just really like it, so I don't know why I got it, but well, that's why I got it, because I really like it. But I don't know if it'll ever be used for anything. The other new thing I got was these things from war bases, where you got sort of printed fields on card. I think it's two. Yeah, it's two small ones and one large one. I say it's slightly too small for 20mm. I think. I mean, you can use it for 20mm, but they look very nice for 15mm. Yeah, so I got these just because I wanted to buy them and see what they're like, and yeah, they look pretty good to me. Yeah, so the other thing I got is to say I got the those AB miniatures, World War II British, which are I'm going to use it for single base figures. And I got some French bits to do. So it's basically, tidying up the last few bits of World War II stuff that I've already got. And the other thing was, oh yeah, I bought a bunch of resin British vehicles in the past that I want to get done. And there's no particular purpose to them. It's just I want to get them done because they're sitting there, and I've got to clear the pile. But the other new thing I got was I wanted to get front rank Marlburian figures for my plastic Warlord infantry, but for some reason the PayPal stopped working for me some time ago, and I couldn't get them. But recently I don't know if it was recently, but last time I checked, they had some new. They had a new way of using the credit card. So I think it's probably like a PayPal but different. And these are great. I love the front rank figures. Just the right amount of detail for me, or rather slightly too much, which is sort of better, really, I suppose. And I can't remember which is which, but one of these is Dutch Grenadiers, and one is Danish Grenadiers, because the Dutch had a lot of Danish battalions at the time. I don't know if they were mercenaries or whether the Danes were actually allied. And Grenadier battalions in that era were often mixtures of the Grenadiers from various different battalions. So I was going to do a kind of multinational Grenadier battalion for the Allies. So I've still got more plastic ones to paint first, really. Yeah, a couple of French mortars. So there's all kinds of stray bits and pieces that I've got to work on for the next month. Try and get rid of all these boxes of piles of bits. But anything else to say? No, I think it's just general ramble after this. Okay, to a little bit.